I'm Alex.
And I'm Dan.
We're the Ragamuffins and we love live music, so we want to know what makes the perfect gig. Every episode we're going to invite on a guest and they're going to tell us their dream 4-band gig from opener to headliner.
Today we're talking to Harvey Freeman of Graphic Nature, who we think are one of the most exciting bands in the UK heavy scene right now.
Their debut album, A Mind Waiting to Die, is coming out February 17th via Rude Records, and you can see them live on tour in the UK this April in London, Bournemouth, Bristol, Swansea, Milton Keynes, Nottingham, Manchester and Leeds.
But for now, let's hear Harvey Freeman's perfect gig.
So I guess to start with, we want to know, what was the first gig that you ever went to?
Do you want my first metal gig or the first gig that I went to?
The first gig. The first gig.
Definitely with that response, it's got to be the first gig.
First gig I went to, right, was, I think it was Black Eyed Peas with support from Pussycat Dolls, because my mom took me and she was like,
Wow.
It's going to be great. Yeah, I think she loved Black Eyed Peas at the time. And yeah, that was at like, might have been at like Wembley or something. It was like stupidly big for the age that I was. But yeah.
Did you have as good of a time as your mum?
Definitely not. Yeah. No, I was just waiting to get out. But it was cool. I think they were good.
What was the first metal gig then that you went to?
Bullet for My Valentine. It was just before they released Scream Aim Fire. Yeah, that show at Brixton. I think it was like Skindred supported, and Silverstein maybe.
Nice. Were you in the pit?
Hell yeah, I was right up the front. I think it was like 13 or 14.
Nice,
Yeah, it was
nice.
wild. It was great.
So let's take this now to Graphic Nature. Let's start at the very beginning of the story. How did you guys meet and sort of end up starting to make music together?
So the rest of those boys have known each other for a while. I think they've played in like bands beforehand. And I'd played in a fair few bands before I'd met these guys before. And we just like crossed paths at a show once, and we kind of had the idea of doing a band together, but it never really come to fruition. And then, yeah, I just filled in for a few shows for some of their older stuff, and then we created Graphic Nature off the back of that. And yeah, it's just been crazy since. So it's been cool.
So am I right in thinking that you guys had the name Graphic Nature before you even kind of had any kind of sound or any kind of music written for the band?
Yeah. We just had the name.
It's clear from your music that Deftones are an influence for you. Have other influence? Do you have any other influences that have kind of helped develop the sound as well of the band?
Yeah, just a lot of new metal from like when we grew up. So a lot of, earlier Slipknot stuff, earlier Korn. I take a lot of influence from POD and Il Nino. I fucking love those bands. But then we also take a lot of influence from artists like Aphex Twin and a lot of garage and drum and bass as well that we can try and kind of weave into the music.
It's interesting because it feels like in the last few years there's been like a newfound respect again for new metal, because it felt like there was, for a long time, it was pretty uncool to like those sort of bands.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's sort of
helped? I think bands like you, Blood Youth, who sort of have that influence, sort of break through a little bit, because now people are excited about new metal again, and you guys are sort of bringing it back with a new twist.
Yeah, I think if anything, it was more the fact that bands were starting to make music like that again. I think a lot of times, like, people forget how good it is. Like, when something new comes out, obviously after new metal, we had like emo and metalcore and everything that kind of took place, and that kind of got forgotten about. But like everyone that grew up in that era never forgot about, like, we all listened to Deftones like every day, listen to Slipknot, all that shit. So I think the resurgence of it is just everyone's like, oh yeah, fuck, like new metal was good. Like, why didn't I carry on listening all this time? So I think, yeah, it's helped. And obviously kids nowadays are like, they've probably not heard bands like this before. So that's cool. And, if listening to like bands like Blood Youth and Graphic Nature can get you into Slipknot or Korn or Deftones, like, that's fucking awesome,
So shall we get tucked into your perfect gig then? Who is your opening band of the night?
My opening band of the night is Fightstar, because I
Nice.
fucking love
wow,
Fightstar.
awesome, yeah.
They are one of my favorite bands, if not the favorite band. I don't know. They're definitely up there. Top 5 for sure.
Are they a band that you've seen live before?
No. I think that's
Oh.
why. I stupidly missed them. They done like a secret set at this club that I went to a few years ago, and I stupidly missed it. while I was there. I don't think I knew how to get anywhere. I don't know what I was doing, but yeah, I missed it and I was pissed. So that annoyed me.
Do you have any kind of specific requests for this set? Would you want any particular songs to be played live?
Yeah, bear with. There's a song on. I don't know if this is coming through enough. Where is it? I think it's called "Our Last Common Ancestor," and it's off of "One Day Sun." This will all be yours. Yeah, "Our Last Common Ancestor." It's like completely different to their other stuff. It's a really slow, kind of emotional song. But when like the drums kick in and shit, it's like goosebumps every time. Like that Grand Unification Part 2, a song called Wake Up, like all the fucking rages would be for me. Yeah.
Awesome. We've heard before that you take a lot of inspiration from video game soundtracks, and you're a big gamer.
Mhm.
I guess the whole point of a video game soundtrack is for the player to be immersed within the world of the game.
Yeah.
And something that I've felt when seeing you guys live is you create the same sort of thing with your interludes and ambient sections. What is it about video games that appeals to you, and what sort of influences are you able to take from listening to that sort of stuff?
Video games for me was always my escape when I wasn't doing music stuff. So video games were with me before I started playing music when I was like 9, and they'll be with me forever, kind of thing. So when I'm not on tour, I'm always playing video games, and like tour for me is an escape out of the real world, you know, as your parents would fucking say. So when I'm not on tour, gaming is that also that escape. So playing video games is just the best thing, especially playing like single player games. But I'm rambling. The music from video games creating like an immersive experience and stuff it's one of those things that, you know, if you listen to like a soundtrack from a movie or a soundtrack from a game and you're instantly transported back to that place where you can remember those feelings that you were going through, or it even just brings back some nostalgic thing where, you know, you remember you was like 10 playing video games on a CRT TV or whatever. I just wanted Graphic Nature to have that as a whole, just have it's an experience rather than you're going to a show. It's just, this is how it is. This is how it's always going to be on stage. And yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it definitely feels like being sucked into a bit of a whirlwind. The two times that I've been lucky enough to see you guys live.
Oh, sweet.
Like, while you guys were writing, recording A Mind Waiting to Die, were there any particular soundtracks that you were listening to a lot at the time that sort of helped to influence you?
Nothing in particular. I was listening to so everyone grew up watching like Salad Fingers, right? And all those weird fucking internet videos. Basically, like the guy that does them, I cannot for the life of me remember what his name is right now. I think it's David Firth.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. He done this newer video, and like the background music for that is so eerily creepy, but also kind of hopeful. And it reminded me of something out of like Donnie Darko. So I found out the artist of it, and he's like quite a small composer. I just listened to that whole album, and it really takes you through the motions of like weird shit. And so yeah, I just listened to that on repeat and wrote what I felt came out after listening to pieces of music. So yeah,
that must be a pretty insane sort of mindset to get into. What do you do like once you're done listening and done writing to that sort of thing? Is there any sort of like palate cleanser music you listen to like maybe chill you out, or, you know, bring you out of that mindset?
Sometimes I just sit there and I'm like, I just need to take a minute. My go-to albums are always like, you know, Self-Titled by Slipknot or White Pony, Deftones, anything like that. That you know, like how people have comfort TV shows where you watch the same TV show over again because you know what's coming. I'll just put comfort albums on, so I don't have to listen, but it's there and I can calm down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What was it like for you guys to sort of write and record your first full-length album? Was it stressful, and how did it differ from writing the EP?
The EP was done in the space of like 2 or 3 days. I think it was really, really quick. But the album was, I want to say, over a couple of months. We had to do like multiple trips up to Stoke to Sam Blaw's place. I think it's Lower Lane Studios. And it was mainly me and Pete up there a lot. Pete's our guitarist. And Pete enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of stressful just because there's such a pressure to like produce such a good piece of music. And especially if you're not in the right mindset, you're like, is this going to go well? But Sam was really great with like, putting me in a right space where I could perform really well vocally. So I really appreciated that. He was like super cool with, adding ideas to songs that we'd already written. And like, he was fine if you didn't want to use it. But most of the time, the like little hooks and stuff he'd like add into the songs were way better than what we did. So we were like, yeah, fuck it, let's use it. But overall, it was fun. Yeah.
Is it sort of difficult, I guess, to have someone who's not within the band sort of offering suggestions and ideas? Is there a sort of reluctancy to let them in, or do you find it quite helpful to have that outsider perspective?
I found it helpful, but at the same time, like, like if I've written a bunch of lyrics, it's very personal to me. So whenever someone wants to change something, even if it's within the band, I'm always like, yeah, but this is my thing that I just want to keep. But I think if you're open to constructive criticism and like open to ideas, you can often come out with something way better than you had in the first place. So you should never shut it down. Like, so having Sam there as like a third person that wasn't even in the band was really helpful for sure.
Cool, awesome. Well, let's move on to band number 2 of your perfect gig then. Who's playing after Fightstar?
The great Underoath, because
awesome.
Again, I grew up with them. Define the Great Line is one of my favorite records, and I think it's just got the perfect opening song. I've seen those guys so many fucking times, but I don't think I'd ever get bored of it. So having them on that show would be fucking awesome, especially with Aaron Gillespie playing drums as well. And I'd want to stand side stage and just watch.
I guess the same questions I had for Fightstar. Do you have any kind of preferences for the set? Would you prefer like to hear a taste of the newer material, perhaps, or just some of the classic old stuff?
They've got that album that says, what is it? Play your old stuff. Anything off like Define the Great Line, Lost in the Sound of Separation. Was it XO? I think was the album that like not a lot of people liked, but I really did.
This is your gig. It doesn't matter what other people want to hear.
Exactly. It was just called Disambiguation. That album's fucking awesome. Just a big old hour-long set for me. That'll do.
So it feels like one of Graphic Nature's purposes at its core is maybe to start a conversation about mental health. What does it kind of mean to you to be able to talk about your own struggles through the means of music?
It's just a great, like, I want to say escape, but it's not really an escape. It's like an acceptance, really, of what I'm going through. And I found when I was a kid, I never really had any bands to look up to that I actively knew were going through shit. Like I know Korn was very much going through shit, but I don't think I registered when I was younger listening to it. So yeah, I kind of felt like I didn't have any bands to look up to that were speaking about that kind of thing. And it's like so many bands know, like they'll know how to speak about like, politics or something else, and that's their thing, and they want to speak about that, and that's absolutely fine. I don't know anything about that kind of shit, but the only thing I do really know about is mental health and like how I go through shit and how I cope with it. So if I can put that all onto one record, and for all of our songs, coming out, that's great. And if someone, comes up to me after a show and says, fucking hell, you guys were heavy as fuck, but the source material that you were singing about is so deep, like, can we have a chat? Fuck yeah. Like that's really cool to me.
Yeah, I think it's amazing to be able to, especially for men, to be able to talk about those sort of things is a really important thing. So yeah, I know what you mean. It's being able to see bands that you look up to talking about that sort of thing on stage definitely opens the door for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of people more comfortable as well to be around. Like we might look like, I don't want to say intimidating, but we look a certain way on stage that, portrays the presence of Graphic Nature, but we are all way up for a conversation after the show. Like there's no ego to this band. There's no, there's no arrogance. There's no anything. We're all on the same level. And like the one thing I want to do afterwards is just chat to people. Like I rarely go out. I don't know whether that's a fear of fucking going outside or whatever, but I'm rarely outside of the house unless I'm on tour. So meeting all these people at one time, especially after I've played a show, is like, fuck, this is sick. So yeah.
Was it sort of refreshing for you to write a song like Killing Floor that doesn't deal with any of those sort of topics. You just get to pretty much have fun with it in a way.
Yeah, that was cool. That was I don't know what I was doing. I think I was watching a lot of films at the time. It was during lockdown. I think I started watching Dexter again and some other fucking programs. And just thought that it would be cool to write a song through the eyes of someone that wanted to be like someone from these TV shows. Yeah, and it was a joke at first. It was just I'd already written lyrics for Killing Floor beforehand that were just not sitting right with me. So I wrote this other song, which was obviously what the lyrics to Killing Floor are now, and just added it to that song, and it worked.
Awesome. Well, before we move on to band number 3, we'd like to ask, what was the first album that you ever bought?
First album I ever bought for myself that I can remember it might have been Volume 3, Subliminal Verses by Slipknot.
Awesome.
I think I ordered it off Play.com. Do you remember Play.com?
I remember Play.com.
Yeah.
I'd completely forgotten about Play.com, but that's just... I've got my childhood flashing before my eyes now.
Yeah. No one remembers that.
I think I'm a bit too young for that one.
It was basically like Amazon, but it was like Amazon and eBay put together. It was a bit weird and sketchy, but yeah, you could get CDs and DVDs off it. So
at the time, was that the first Slipknot album you had heard?
No, I was given a stack of CDs at school, because I think I just started secondary school, or I was in year 8. I was about 14, maybe. No, younger than that. Shit, I don't know. Basically, a kid in my class had wanted to start a band, and I was the only drummer that he knew. And he was like, "Oh, if you can learn to play drums like this, then we can start a band." And I was like, "Okay."
That's a hell of an ask.
Yeah, right. It was Slipknot, System of a Down, Static X, Soulfly, Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit. It was just all this great new metal music, and yeah, he was going. It was kind of like that thing in School of Rock where he gives everyone a CD, and he's like, "Learn this over the weekend." That was just my job for the next few weeks to try and get into a band. We didn't go anywhere, obviously, but it was fun.
So let's get on to band number 3. Who's the sub-headliner at your perfect gig?
It's a specific era of said band. It has to be 1999 to 2002 Slipknot. The rest I'm not fussed about, but I feel like their performance from that time, even going into Volume 3 era, when they added more singing and experimental stuff, I still really like Volume 3 era, but Self-Titled and Iowa, just the fucking stage presence they had, and just down from sometimes Sid setting fucking Clown alight or setting Corey alight, all of that shit was just so fucking enjoyable to watch. And it's a shame, obviously, everyone gets older, we can't move as much as we can. I saw Slipknot just before COVID hit, and I think it was the third time I'd ever seen them, and I was like, oh man, I really wish they were still jumping around and doing weird shit in that Disaster Pieces DVD, but they didn't. But they were still cool. I want that era. Yeah.
Yeah, and watching videos from that era is such a lightning bolt moment in time that it's never going to be replicated again, isn't it?
It's so fucking good.
I can't fault that pick. That's perfect. Yeah.
Bringing it back to Graphic Nature, when you recorded Into the Dark, we've read that you were unhappy and completely rewrote the lyrics in the studio. Just talk to us about what that experience was like, and that sort of, I guess, the pressure of that compared to the dissatisfaction of what you'd already written, and how you were able to sort of navigate through that process.
So I think we'd started recording a few lines to it, and I'd already had it all written out, and I knew in my head it was okay, but I didn't have anything else, so I didn't really have a choice. And we got halfway through, and I think I was just like, Sam, can we just take 5 minutes for a second? And then he was like, yeah, cool, that's fine. And then I think he played the song on repeat just because it was deadly quiet, and I just wanted a second to sit. Then I was like, Sam, man, can you just repeat this on repeat for 10, 20 minutes for me? And I think I'm going to have something else to write. And I don't know about, it's his fucking recording booth for the vocals is so small and so cold that it does something to you. I don't know what it is, but it sparks so much shit that you can just focus because it's so quiet. And yeah, dude, I just sat in that room and wrote about past experiences with like, you know, relationships or like reliance on drugs and shit, and just compiled it into this one big thing of like how I was feeling at that moment. And I guess like shit that I'd kept in for years without talking about. And yeah, sometimes it fucking gets me on stage. Like first night of Cancer Bats tour, I was in bits after that song. So yeah, maybe I should see a therapist. But no, it was fun. It was really cool to have that like trust to be able to write a song within the day and then record it, and then that's final. That was something I've never done before. So yeah, really cool.
Were there any other instances in the studio where similar sort of things happened, where there were late minute changes or decisions made that were just brand new in the moment?
Yeah, there's a track on the album called A Twin, and it's the second to last song. I wrote that the night before because I suffer with sleep paralysis sometimes. I had it a lot when I was a kid, not so much now, but I had it the fucking week we were recording. Sorry, I think it's because we were staying in like a random like Airbnb, so I was really not aware of my surroundings, kind of thing. You know, when you're not comfortable in a place.
Yeah, hard to settle, I suppose.
Yeah. So I had that, and then just woke up and just put the TV on at like 3 a.m. and was like, cool. Well, I guess I'm not going back to sleep. But I just wrote this whole monologue for the track, and just was like, okay, Pete, can you just trust me with this? I think it's going to work. And when I done it, like Sam was like, yes, that's sick. Here's what we can change. Here's what we can add to it. And that was another one. I was like, fucking hell, like it can be done. Like that was really cool. I think the other songs were pretty much there when we went into the studio. We might have added or taken away bits to it, but they were pretty much solid because we'd been writing the album since 2020 at that time. Obviously COVID happened, so we had to just wait to get into the studio.
So you've been waiting that whole time. Are there any songs that you haven't released yet off the new album that you're really, really excited for people to hear?
Yeah.
Well, I say any. It's going to be all of them. But what's the one that you're most excited for people to hear?
I think it's The Downpour. It's the last song of the album, and it's not a different like style of music for us, but it's definitely pushing it to the extremes of what Graphic Nature can be, because it's as heavy as we can be in a softer song. I don't even know if that's the right fucking term, but yeah, it's the one that I'm like most excited for, but also most nervous for, because it's either people are going to be like, this is sick, or people are just going to be like, this sucks and you suck and you should kill yourself and all this. I don't know.
It'd be a shame if they wait through the whole album to make that decision.
Well, basically, the last song.
That's like, what is it? When Hollow Crown came out, and like the whole album's sick, and then they finished with Hollow Crown. Yeah. It's not as soft as Hollow Crown. It's still a rager, but it has like a beefy chorus. So yeah, I'm excited.
Well, I guess it's time for us to hear the headliner of your perfect gig.
Headliner for me, it will always be this way because they've had such a huge like influence on how I do vocals, and I just love them. It'll be Beastie Boys to headline.
Awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. That's an interesting sort of source for you to find inspiration in vocals then, considering it's not screaming.
No, well, they started off as a hardcore band, so they still had that aspect of it, and they've got a couple of songs on Ill Communication which are like shouting for like their style of shouting. I just love the rhythm, because coming from being a drummer to go into vocals, it's something I love, is hearing like when vocals match up to a drum beat. And Beastie Boys do it so well, especially with like the little breaks in between, and they've just had like a yeah or something into it, and I love adding yeahs and shit into our music. So
yeah, that's such a great pick. Any sort of specifics for their set? You could hear an album played in full if you'd like, or just the hits.
I think it would be Ill Communication and License to Ill. And hold on, I fucking forgot the name of the album. Paul's Boutique was cool. They had some cool like instrumental bits on there. Yeah, maybe those 3 albums. If
you had the opportunity to go on stage for a guest spot for one Beastie Boys song, which one would you pick?
Ooh. You could say Sabotage, but Cancer Bats do Sabotage and they do it well. Maybe like one of the fucking hits. Like, Fight for Your Right would be jokes, or like No Sleep Till Brooklyn. I think there's a song on Ill Communication, which is, sorry, I'm speaking away from the mic. Get It Together. That's a sick song. I don't think there's any space in that song for like shouting vocals, but I just want to be on stage. Like, that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be so cool. We talked earlier about sort of interludes and soundscapes and world building, and the double videos for Into the Dark and Bad Blood had an almost like drum and bass style interlude.
Yeah.
Is that something that we could expect to hear on the album, or is it just rages all the way through, unrelenting?
Oh no, yeah, that'll be on there. I think it's actually its own track. Yeah, there's not a lot of, there's no filler really like to this album. It's not like we have an intro and then we have like the interlude, which I think is called 90 or something. And that's it for like interludes kind of thing. But we have a lot, especially like in the first track, Sour, we've got a lot of drum and bass. Even to the end of it, it's probably the most drum and bass we can chuck at it.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. When we recorded it in studio, I think I've got a video that Pete took, and I'm just sat there laughing because it's so fucking stupid. Like, it works. Like, I'm excited. I'm really excited for people to hear it and to play it live. Just, yeah.
Speaking of playing it live, you guys are going to be at Download Festival this year. How does it feel to be sharing a lineup poster with so many bands? And are any of those that kind of shock you, like you see a name on that poster and think, wow, we're really on there?
Yeah, fucking Metallica and Slipknot. What the fuck? Like, I know we're like a drop in the ocean compared to these fucking bands, but like, if I could go back in time and tell myself when I was 13, 14, just starting music, like, one day your band's going to be on the same poster as Slipknot and Metallica, like, that's fucking mad to me. And, you know, if the set goes well, it goes well. If it doesn't, I get to see Metallica 2 nights and Slipknot, like, whatever, cool. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm so worried about Download. I don't know why.
So we've got A Mind Waiting to Die coming February 17th, headline tour in April. What else can we expect from Graphic Nature in 2023?
We've got some festivals I think we're yet to announce for the summer. We've got this one called Collision Fest in March, which is in Bedford, and we're headlining that. I think it's a collaboration between Castle Fest and some other guys that have just put on this huge show.
Cool.
It's over like 2 stages, so that'll be fucking awesome. I think we're planning some bits for the end of the year once the festival season is done, but we've got nothing set in stone. But yeah, festivals and our headline tour just for now. And then we'll figure out some supports later, I'm sure.
Exciting stuff. So let's take a look back at your perfect gig. We've got Fightstar opening. We've then got Underoath, 1999 to 2002 era Slipknot, and then a headliner of the Beastie Boys. But where's it all going to take place? What venue are we going to be in?
The Astoria, because it was my favorite venue. It's the venue that I saw Underoath play first. And yeah, it just got taken away from us to build a fucking train station. It makes no sense. The venue was so sick, but
we never got the chance to go to the Astoria, did we? But we've heard so many cool things about it. So
it was like having free reign of like a gig. Like, you just run around, do whatever you want. That's how it felt like to me. Like, I was only 15 and we were just running around watching Underoath, watching like Bring the Horizon there and stuff. And I think, to me, I feel like it was like a 5,000 cap venue, but I'm sure it was about 1,000, 2,000 cap. It just seemed huge. Like, but yeah, it was a great venue, and I would love to put a show on there. I even wanted to play there, but yeah, I don't know.
I think it all almost comes back full circle to this escapism that we spoke about at the start. Like, the stories I've heard about the Astoria, it's like almost like it was a social club for kind of the scene.
Yeah, and you'd all meet up outside, and like the way that the queue went round, it kind of went into an alley, so you could just do what you want. You could drink in the queue and stuff, and yeah, it was a good time. MySpace era, man. It was great. Good times.
Well, awesome, Harvey. That sounds like an amazing, perfect gig. I'd go to that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been great to spend this time with you talking about Graphic Nature. We're incredibly excited for the album. We can't wait to hear it. And yeah, thank you again for your time.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's been great. And I really do hope you enjoy the album because I'm nervous as fuck. So
That was a great gig, wasn't it? I'd go to that.
Absolutely. I'll be there as well.
Thank you once again to Harvey for taking time to speak to us. We're very, very excited for their debut album, A Mind Waiting to Die, coming out February 17th via Rude Records. What else have we got going on the channel, Dan?
We've got all sorts. We vlog every single gig we go to. We've recently been to see Sleep Token, Casey, Holding Absence. We even did a live podcast with them as well.
We're very thankful to everyone that came along to watch, thankful to the band, and of course, to Tyler, who was off camera and recorded it for us. Thank you, Tyler.
We've got more episodes of A Perfect Gig as well, featuring Lucas Woodland from Holding Absence, Jacob Andrews from Nala, and some of our friends as well.
Please subscribe to the channel for all things heavy and alternative music.